Your screen.
Like it? Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. I'll open with this.
All right, so everyone's coming in
Hey
now.
everybody, how you doing? Send me a shout out in chat. Everybody, welcome. We'll let everybody kind of trickle in, and we'll get started here in about 90 seconds. I'll start with some announcements, and then I'll hand it over to Evelyn. Hey, North Carolina. Hi, Barbara. Good. Video and audio are working, so you can hear. Wow, Evelyn, we've got record attendance. It looks like we are cruising.
Good.
All right, we'll give it about 45 more seconds and we will get started. Hey, good morning, California. Good morning, Pennsylvania, Chicago, Illinois, New Jersey, Houston, Bergen County, Maryland, Arizona, Houston, Dallas, my hometown. Love you, Dallas. Long Island. Anybody from Long Beach? I'm in Long Beach right now. Anybody from Buffalo? Ithaca, there we go. Hey, everybody. All right, welcome. My name's Scott Wayman. I'm the CEO and founder at Kangaroo Time. A few weeks back, it's about 3 weeks now, we decided as a company we were going to pause our pursuit of growing the company and our relentlessness towards serving our customers in a traditional support and service sense with our product. And we were going to divert all of our attention to helping early educators get through the COVID-19 crisis. And for all of you, it's been so humbling. We thank you. The feedback that we've gotten, the camaraderie, the virtual hugs across the digital Ponderosa. It's been kind of the best and the worst 3 weeks of my career. And we're really proud of all that you are doing to serve your families and to serve your employees. One thing I urge you all to do on my screen here, I have can you guys see my screen? Yes, okay. So you can see the KT Childcare Connect Facebook group. Please, guys, join it. As a company, we're sharing as much data as we can give back to you. So, we have information and data on check-ins, and attendance, and who's closed, who hasn't. Hopefully we can help each of you make decisions as you bring your employees back in the next couple of weeks. So please join. Also, if you need a way to communicate with your parents and your staff, reach out to us. We're giving away parts of our product. Please reach out to us. Again, no strings attached. We want to serve as many people as we can. So a little bit of housekeeping. Certificates. So for those of you that signed up and that are here, we will be sending you certificates directly after the webinar in an email. So those usually come within 24 hours. I know there are lots of you on here. If you don't see them in 24 hours, just be patient. We'll get them to you. If you have questions, enter it down in the Q&A area. We've received lots of questions before the webinar, and we're going to be feeding those to Evelyn. But we'll get to your questions, and if we don't, we'll send up a follow-up email, and we'll convey those questions to Evelyn and give her a little time to do those in a little more long form, kind of a way, and get those back to you. Your microphones and cameras are off. We will be sending a recording to each of you after this in your follow-up email. So with all that done and all the housekeeping aside, I'd like to introduce Evelyn. She's the founder of Childcare Business Coach and also hosts a podcast. Please subscribe to it if you can, called the Childcare Business Coach. She is also an owner herself and is facing the same challenges that many of you are facing. And before you guys got on the call, we talked about what she's thinking, what's going on in her head, and she's going to share that with you. She's going to talk to us all about making decisions and to help you prepare your center for what's going on post the pandemic and during the pandemic. Evelyn, we're so glad to have you. I'm going to hide so you can't see my quirky facial expressions. I'll come back when we get into Q&A. But so glad to have you here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Evelyn Knight. I am the owner and CEO of Childcare Business Professionals and the host of the Childcare Business Coach, which is a podcast that you can find on all major platforms. And I too own a childcare center. I've actually owned a few. I'm down to one right now. And I'm in Northern Nevada. We are still open. I'm actually in my center right now as we speak. So I'm just in my office. But we are in operation right now. So today, I really want to focus on the heaviness that is out there. As early child care professionals, things are just really heavy for us right now. It's been really difficult for us to just navigate. This is new to everybody. There's no manual we can go to. There's no case study we can go to get direction at this time. So the decisions that we're facing are very difficult ones, and there's no precedence, right? So what I'm seeing a lot of within my clients are that people are just kind of freezing up. And I can tell you guys from personal experience, the worst thing we can do as people who lead companies, and early child care, we are companies, you guys. I know a lot of times in our field, it's hard for us to really recognize and see that, right? But this is a company and we have to think like business owners right now if we're going to survive this. And so the decisions that we fear are making us freeze. And the worst thing we can do is freeze. When I first opened I opened a new center in 2010. We had just built from the ground up. My city actually had a major flood, and I lost 50% of my customer base overnight. And I just, a lot of people told me I might as well give up. I couldn't make it, and there was no way I would be able to make it. And it was hard, but we pushed through. In 2012, I was actually diagnosed with a neurological disease that caused a lot of major setbacks for my business. And at that time in 2012, I froze and I didn't take action. And that caused so many disasters for my business that took me years to dig out of. So I can tell you guys, we can make it out of this. You guys, I have come so close to losing my business that in the 2012, I actually had at one point an eviction notice on the door of my company. It was a 72-hour eviction notice, but that's when I really woke up and realized I had to take action. I couldn't sit back. I couldn't allow this to take me down. And when I woke up, I decided and started to fight. It worked. I was able to find a way. And it's amazing when we are pushed to the wall, the resources we suddenly find, the ways we suddenly find to become successful. And it's within all of us, you guys. I am no different than everybody else. I'm a small town girl. I just, I have a very large center. I have 190 children enrolled, and I'm still in this center. Here I am 8 years later after having an eviction notice, and I'm still in my center. I didn't let this take me down. I didn't let it take me down then. And I know now going in that I'm not going to let this take me down either. Is it hard? Absolutely. I normally, I'm actually only at 100 or about 45 children a day right now. So I'm taking a huge hit too, but there are ways. There are things we can do. And the worst thing we can do is freeze and do nothing. That is the absolute worst thing you can do right now. So one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is how do we make those decisions, right? The decisions are so huge and they're so heavy for us right now. So how do we make those decisions? And the message I really want to send to everybody is that there really is no right or wrong decision right now. If you take the right decision and the wrong decision out of the equation and just look at this as we are just making decisions, that's it. It's just a decision. There is no right or wrong. There is no precedence. Everybody is in the same boat, right? No judgment. It will make it so much easier for you to be able to get through this and to make those decisions that you have to make. If you just see these as just decisions. The other thing is, if you really look at why do we as humans fear decisions, right? And just a little back on that. My degree is in psychology, and I am also a certified life coach. So I kind of always just analyze how people think. And one of the things is like we've got to really look at here is when you go to make a decision, we are always afraid of what that decision is going to be in the future, right? We're afraid of the mistakes we're going to make. We're afraid of how we're going to treat ourselves, okay? Because most of the time, people around us can be pretty forgiving if you really think about it. We are our own worst critics, and we beat ourselves up more than anybody else. So what I want you guys to really think about and really keep in your head as you're making these really hard decisions. Do I stay open? Do I close? If you've already closed, you might regret it, right? You might just be beating yourself for that. Or you might regret the fact that you stayed open, right? But what I want you to really think about is when you look at decisions you've made in the past and think about a decision that you tend to beat yourself up over a little bit today. A lot of those decisions we look at now and we just wish we would have made a different decision. Well, today we have all the facts, right? The person that you were when you made that decision, that person did not have all the facts, but the person that you are today does have all the facts, or does, right? So I want you to put that in perspective, okay? So the decisions you're going to make a year from now, right? For today, I want you to think a year from now, promise yourself that you are not going to beat yourself up for making those decisions. It'll make it so much easier for you just to make a decision and take action. You've got to understand that a year from now, you will have all the facts. The you of today does not have all the facts. So you have to consciously make yourself aware and tell yourself, I'm going to make this decision. I am not going to beat myself up for it. I do not have all the facts now. My future self will have all the facts. So I'm going to just make this decision, give myself grace, and just go with it. And that is really the best thing you guys can do. The other thing I really recommend right now is just take your fears, right? The reason that we freeze and we don't make decisions is because we are paralyzed with all these what ifs, okay? So if you take all those what ifs and write them down, write down like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this comes? And then write a solution for each one of those what ifs. Write a scenario for each one of those what ifs, right? Just see what would your life look like. So for an example, I think that so many directors and owners are fearing right now is, what if I don't come back from this? And what if I can't reopen my center? Okay, so what if you can't? How many times in our lives have we lost and had to rebuild something, right? That's okay. In life, sometimes we have to reset, and that is okay. So just play out all those scenarios. I know they sound awful, but if you really write it out, a lot of times it'll just be freeing. And a lot of times you'll be able to put a plan in place. But more importantly, as you're writing this out, I want you to really focus on, what do I need to do to make sure that I don't lose my center, so that my center can reopen and we can come back stronger and better. And then put a plan in place. Get an action plan going, you guys. That is so important. Imperfect action is better than no action. Just remember that. Imperfect action is better than no action. What will take our centers down and our industry down is if we do nothing. I know NAEYC put out a study that shows that they're predicting 60% of centers will not make it out of this. But honestly, we can all make it out of this if we just fight our way through. There are unconventional ways. There are things we can do. Is it going to be hard? Yes, it's going to be hard, but we have that choice. It's just, are we willing to do what it takes to get there? And that's something that you really have to ask yourself. Put all the scenarios out there. Are you willing to do what it takes to survive this, to make sure your center survives this? And if you're not, give yourself the grace. That's okay. If you're not willing to do what it takes, that is okay too. But if you want to, do what it takes and promise yourself that you're going to do what it takes. One of the things that I've been telling my audience to do, and that I really highly suggest, it's something I've done in the past that it's kind of a cool thing to do. It's actually something that I got from one of my mentors, and it really just, what it is, write yourself a letter and date it for a year from now and put it somewhere that you can read it, and write yourself a thank you note. Write yourself a thank you note for doing the things that you are going to do to make sure that your center not only survives this, but it thrives through this, that you come out better. And when you do this, be very specific. Okay, so write yourself a letter that says things like, I am going to apply for the PPP loan no matter how daunting that paperwork looks. I am going to do a GoFundMe. I'm going to start offering online virtual Zoom preschool classes so that I can continue to bring an income in. I'm going to stick to my policies and charge. I'm going to find a way to fill the gap. And so that leads me to my next issue, is finding a way to lead the gap. I know a lot of us are scared. Where are we going to find the money to pay the bills, right? The loans that are out there seem promising, but in all actuality, everything is so new to us that we really don't know what's going to really happen, right? We've never seen the government turn around anything like this in such a quick time frame, right? So we don't know how long it's going to take. So one of the ways that you guys can really start finding income for your centers and for yourself is look around you, find gaps within your community and fill them. Really start looking through Facebook groups, through, every feed you can, social media wise, and read what are people needing out there, and focus on the ECE, like our industry, right? And then think of a way, how can you generate revenue for your center based on those gaps? Right now, we really have to get away from industry standards and do what we need to do. And you guys, I will answer your questions at the end. I will go through them one-on-one. Otherwise, I start getting distracted and lose my focus. So I will get to those though. So those are just some of, the things that find a way, just really tap into yourself. What are some of the things you can do, right? There's so much. I was talking to another center that started doing food delivery. The parents are working from home. They don't know what to do with their children. It's really hard for them to stop, make lunches, do all of that. So they are still charging all their families tuition, but they're delivering meals. They're delivering lunch instead. And their families are actually still willing to pay full tuition to get these meals delivered. It is only one meal a day, right? And normally the staff is, instead of in the classroom, they're just driving around delivering meals. So that's the way that center found a gap to fill. Okay, so think of different things you can do. My center, since I am about 70% of my staff, of my children right here, we are doing Zoom preschool every single day. We are conducting Zoom preschool classes. That helps the children who are home with their boredom. It helps parents get work done. It also keeps the children connected. And one of the things we've noticed the most is that's really what the children want. They want connection. They want to see their friends. They want to talk to their teachers. They want to just stay connected. And while we're still serving the children and our families, it's also giving parents that opportunity to get something done, right? So it's our way that we've found to serve so that we can still really justify charging the parents. Another thing about that, you guys, I think it's time for our industry to really think about how we look at things. Something that I've always done, and in my messaging, we do orientations for our parents, and my parents know, they just know that their tuition is based on an annual basis. It is not based, they may pay me week to week, and some of them pay me monthly, but they know from the day they do their orientation to come into my center that we figure tuition on an annual basis, that their children pay whether they're here or not, and they are paying for a position at my center. They are not paying for attendance. So when all of this hit, I didn't have to chase families for money. They just knew they would have to pay me. They just knew it. So that was something that was really a relief. As time went on, I had to step back and ask myself, though. You know, I really had to step back and ask myself, do I feel like it was fair? And you guys, I want you to know that what I choose or what anybody else chooses is right for me. It may not be right for you. So really encourage you, do not be influenced by what other people are doing. But in my case, I did knock my tuition down to 50% because I'm not providing the normal service. It's been a few weeks since my families have been here. So I knocked the charge down to 50%. I had a few families that came back and said, nope, we're still going to pay our bill. We, you know, our income hasn't changed, but that's all in the messaging. And I know that a lot of you guys didn't have that in place before, but that's something you can think about for the future. There is always a disaster, right? Always, somewhere in our nation, somewhere in the world, somebody is going through disaster. The only difference is we're all in it together this time. So these are all things that we need to think of for the future, because there are things that are going to happen again. We will get through this, but something else is going to happen, you guys. There's going to be an earthquake somewhere. There's going to be a hurricane. There's going to be a tornado. So these are things that we should just have in place. And that is something that childcare business professionals, my business, we really do work on. I help companies and childcare centers make sure that they are set up and ready for things like this, right? And in cases like this, I help them to, right now, I'm helping a lot of my customers scramble to get things in place to help them be financially sustainable. But it's time to start really looking at your policies and procedures, because we can emerge from this better, okay? And that's another thing to you guys, mindset. Your mindset is so very important. We have to really control how we're thinking right now. You've got to be conscious of the thoughts that are going through your mind. It's kind of a funny thing to say, but you really don't want to let your mind just go wild right now. You have to stop yourself when these feelings start coming up, when these thoughts start coming up that, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is horrible. This is a disaster. You have to stop yourself and say, no, I am not going to let my mind go there. I am not going to think this way. Where are the opportunities in all this? How can I take this pandemic and make myself better? We are in such a unique situation right now where we can really emerge as somebody totally new from this, right? We have such a great opportunity right now to grow and to become something bigger and better. And now is the time to start putting those plans in place. So instead of just feeling the constant doom that's around us right now, think of how can you emerge from this a better, stronger person? How can you make your center emerge from this a better, stronger center? I recently did a course that was called Recession Proofing Your Childcare Center. It was something I had offered for free, and I really just outlined what are the things that you need to do now, that you can put in place right now to not only make sure that your center gets past this, but to make sure that when the next disaster hits, because another disaster will come, they always do, that you don't have to worry so much, right? And again, it's my experience. I've been through two different disasters within my center as a childcare owner. I've almost lost my center once. So now I'm really, really aware of what can I do to make sure I'm never in that position again. Right? And now's the time, you guys. It's not too late. You can still be proactive. and you can still put things in place that, you know, and again, if you go back to writing down your fears, come up with an action plan for every single one of those fears. If you're closed, right now is a fantastic time for you to really establish policies and procedures to make sure that you're really getting ahead and putting yourself in a position that will make you better in the long run. I have a Facebook group. I'm going live almost every day and just giving tips and tricks for everybody. I'm not charging anything right now. I'm just doing it because I really want to see our industry emerge from this. I want to see us become stronger. And we have that opportunity. We are always fighting to be seen as professionals, right? In our industry, we always want to be recognized as professionals. We always feel like we're not treated as professionals. Well, my message on that is we need to start acting like it. If we want to be the professionals that we deserve to be, if we want to be recognized by it, now is such a great opportunity for us to stand up and really start advocating for us as professionals, right? And the way we're going to start it is come back stronger. You guys, we can make our industry and each one of our individual centers come back stronger. We can show the world that we are professionals and we need the recognition and we deserve it that is out there, right? And advocacy is something I also want to touch on a little bit. Right now, we really need to be advocating, and it's something you can do in your local community. Try to get on the news, email your news, your local news. I've been on the news in my city, just trying to get attention to us. I'm doing things like this, and I've been on several podcasts. It's not really hard, you guys. All you have to do is email people. You'd be amazed how easy it is. And we need to get the word out. We need the world to see us as the professionals that we are, but that's going to take work on our part. It's not just going to happen. The world is starting to see us as the professionals that we deserve to be, right? They're starting to understand that, oh, they can't do this without us. How are the professionals going to go to work if we're not there to take care of their children, right? How are all these essential workers going to go to work? But it's up to us now to emerge the people we want to be. So while you're doing the whole, you know, writing down your fears, write the letter to yourself, ask yourself, who do you want to emerge from this as? Who, as a person, as a professional, and your center, what do you want out of this? What would you like to emerge from this as? You have the opportunity to do that. And then write the steps that you need to take to get there. Okay, so it's something that you can really think about, is just take those steps that you need to get to the place where you can help your center to become what you really want it to be. It just really help it to have that high quality, recession-proofed atmosphere, right? So advocacy is so important right now, and look at really how you can grow through this. The other thing I wanted to touch on with you guys is control. Part of the reason we have so much fear right now is because we're really used to being in control. If you're a director or an owner, a lot of us, we actually are used to being in control. We are used to being, you know, just having that command of things. And each one of us chose to be in a leadership position. We didn't ask for this, right? Not a single one of us asked to be put in this position where we would have to deal with a pandemic, but we are, right? And so we chose to be leaders, and it's time for us to step up to be that leader that we chose to be. And one of the things that I think will be helpful for you guys is, if you think about, we cannot control the situation. There is no control, but we can take command, right? So what's really important in order to take command, to help your staff feel more reassured, to help your families, is you've got to create a plan. I have created a strategic plan that I am actually offering for free. I actually just interviewed somebody from my podcast, so that makes me think I need to revise it a little bit, but it's actually a great template, which is what I'm actually giving out, is the template that each of you guys, I'm happy to share it with you guys, can use to make for your centers. And really, it just breaks down if this happens, all the different scenarios that could happen, so that you have a plan in place. Not only will it relieve a lot of your anxiety, not only will it make you feel a lot better, but it'll make your staff feel a lot more reassured. It'll make your families feel so much better knowing that you are taking control of the situation. And it's not control, but it's command, right? And people will feel so much more secure under your leadership if you take that command. And a funny story, I actually had one of my staff members' husbands come and question me on why we're still open. And he was just really nervous for his own wife. And it was really cool because as soon as I handed him my plan, and my personal plan that is completed is about 6 typed pages long. The outline that I'm giving away for everybody is about 2 typed pages long. But he read through it and he was like, okay, I feel better about that now. I'm not so scared of my wife coming to work now. So just kind of to put it in perspective, when it really does help. So if you're having issues with staffing, I know a lot of people are having issues with staffing being scared to work, or your parents that are essential employees. And even if you're closed, you still need a plan for that. You need a plan. They want to know things like, when are you going to reopen? Doesn't mean you have to have a date, but it can be an action plan. People are going to ask things like, how are you going to bring the children back? Are you going to open all at once? Are you going to stagger? So those are all plans that you can start working on now. And think about how much more reassured your staff and your families will be if you're closed and you have this plan in place, right? Because I guarantee you, everybody's wondering if you're coming back. Everyone out there is wondering what businesses are going to survive this and what businesses aren't. So if you take command of the situation and you show your families and you show your staff, like, okay, this is our plan. It may not have an exact date because we don't know, they keep changing on us, right? But as soon as this is lifted, I'm going to start with my oldest children and then I'm going to trickle all the children in, however you want to do it. You guys, again, there is no right or wrong answer. These are just decisions, right? But however you think is best for your personal center and what you need to do for your staff, come up with a plan. It will send the message that you're here to stay. There's going to be a lot of centers that go out of business, so people are going to be looking. And you don't want your current families wondering if you're going to be one of those, right? So sending that strong message of reassurance, but being transparent and honest too. I think transparency is very, very important. Letting them know, if you are struggling again with making ends meet, be transparent with your families, you guys. Tell them, write a letter, send it to them, and send that message that, hey guys, if you want a center to come back to, I am sorry, I don't want to have to do this, but I do have to charge 50% of my tuition, whatever it is, right? I actually do have a template that I've created again that I am giving away on that. I have all sorts of different things I've created for center directors and owners that is available on my Facebook page. But transparency right now is just, people really do appreciate it. Being transparent with your staff, being transparent with your families, it will make them trust you. And through this, you can really, really achieve some really strong parent and staff loyalty. I have extremely good retention with my staff, which is unheard of in our industry, right? My average staff member has been with me for over 5 years, and I have a few of them who've been with me for over 10 years. And it's really because of these kind of principles. So even if you haven't established that yet, now is a great opportunity for you to take advantage and start establishing yourself as a leader that people want to follow, right? So now is a fantastic opportunity for you guys to really just show them that you care, that you are there for them, and that you are a leader, that you are in control of the situation or in command of the situation, and that you have a plan in place. It really will help you guys so much to just show them that you're thinking about that. The other thing is staying in touch with your staff. I can't, like, if you're closed, even like for me, I went to my staff and I asked them if they were scared to work. I didn't want them to have to work. I'm not going to force them to be here if they don't want to. I also went to my high risk staff and gave them the choice of taking a layoff or staying at work. I let that be their decision. And I did have about 50% of my staff chose to take the layoff. So it's really, really important for us to stay connected. So I've had a Facebook group for my staff for a while. You can do a Slack. It doesn't have to be Facebook. It could be whatever. Facebook's just easiest. And I do videos for my staff all the time. I'll do live videos just so they can hear from me. They can see me. I post things all the time like, hey, I hope you guys are, those of you not working, I hope your basements are getting clean. Something funny, just like, what are you guys doing when you're with your time off, and different things like that, just to lighten the mood, but to stay connected, and staying connected with your families is so, so important too. Even if it's just an email, a phone call, something. Since we are open, we actually had the children color pictures for their friends, and we're going to be mailing that to them. So that's, just things that keep our staff and our families connected. It really does show that you have command of the situation, and it sends that message that you are here to stay. So that's really important. And having a plan, it just really will show and reassure the people around you that, you're in this and you're not going to just fold. Folding is the worst thing we could do. So, and you guys, I told you I'm at my center now. So we are, I am actually getting a little distracted. I'm sorry about that. So the other thing I really want to leave with you guys too is don't make a panicked decision. Decisions that are made in panic can really come to bite you in the end, right? Whenever you make a decision, I really want you to think about, how is this decision going to affect me a year from now? How is it going to affect me 2 years from now? So what I really want you to think about is, don't be reactive, but be proactive, right? Right now, it's really hard. We actually get stuck in the frontal cortex of our brain, and our brains want to go into fight or flight mode. And we have to really consciously step back and not allow that, right? You've got to just consciously don't allow your brain to go into fight or flight mode. It's really, really important, because when you make decisions based on fight or flight, they really aren't logical. And it is just the primitive part of our brains trying to take over in this situation. It sees danger and it wants an immediate resolution to the danger, right? So if you can at all not make those impulsive decisions, just stop yourself. Do not allow yourself to make a decision instantly. Give yourself at least a couple hours. 24 hours is the best if you can. I know sometimes we can't, but it gives yourself some time to get out of that fight or flight mode in your brain. And it gives yourself time to really just start thinking logically and really start thinking out the scenarios. And that's why it's really important to ask yourself, how is this decision that you're going to make going to affect you a year from now? How is it going to affect you 2 years, 5 years, right? For the people I coach, I always tell them, have a 10-year plan, and then we break it down little by little, right? So if you're looking at something like the PPP loan, right? And I know a lot of people are really, really scared, and they want to do these PPP loans, but then they're wondering, how are we going to pay it back? Or they're wondering, do I need to bring all my staff in all at once, right? Just ask yourself, how is this going to affect me 2 years from now? If I choose to take this loan right now, if I bring all my staff back so it is 100% forgivable, how is it going to affect me 2 years from now? And really just base your decisions on that. If it's a good outcome, great. It's a good outcome. Do it by all means. But the other loan, on the other hand, like the emergency disaster loan, those have higher interest rates. Those are a little bit more risky. So when you're weighing your options on which one am I going to take? How much money am I going to take? What am I going to do? Am I going to keep my center open? Am I going to close? Ask yourself, how is this going to affect me 2 years from now? But give yourself the grace. And remember, you're just making a decision, right? You do want to make as much educated decisions as you can. So keep yourself informed, know what you're getting yourself into before you make these decisions, but give yourself that grace to not beat yourself up, and promise yourself when you make these decisions, when you do these things, you're not going to beat yourself up. One of the things that I do, and I've been doing since I was very young, is I always project myself into the future. I remember when I was in high school, I used to tell myself, okay, 2 weeks from now, this won't seem so bad. And then, you know, as we get older, 2 weeks isn't such a long time anymore. So then it became, okay, 2 months from now, how is this going to feel? This, you know, it feels horrible right now, but 2 months from now. So now, you know, you get to a point where as we get older, 2 years from now, how is this going to feel? How is this going to affect me? And you really start asking yourself, how is this going to feel, you know, 10 years from now even, right? Because honestly, 10 years, it goes by so fast, you guys. My son is turning 21 tomorrow in quarantine, and it feels like he was just born, right? And I'm sure a lot of you are in that same boat. It goes by so fast that you've got to really just think to yourself and remember, it does go by fast. So the things that feel so heavy and horrible today, 2 months from now, it's going to feel a little bit better, we hope. We don't know, right? But a year from now, it'll definitely be very different. And 2 years from now, it's going to be very different. And a lot of it, honestly, you guys, in 10 years, we'll never forget this. Absolutely. But a lot of the little tiny things that we are really nitpicking ourselves on, is it really going to matter in 10 years? So give yourself grace in that. Remember, and look at, you know, just the future. How do you want to emerge, right? The other thing too is, I think of like the impact on the children. Our ultimate goal is the children. So when you're making these decisions too, just think about, how is this going to impact the children? How is this going to impact our future and your staff? They're just so, you know, important. And that's what does make this so hard, because these decisions aren't just about us. The other thing too, I have talked to a few home providers who are realizing at this point that maybe it is just time to walk away. And you guys, give yourself grace in that too. If you're realizing through all of this that maybe you are burnt out, maybe this is just time, that's okay. It is okay. I just really want to send the message to you guys out there. I just see so much anxiety and people just beating themselves up. And I really think as a society, we just need to just give ourselves grace. And just remember that it's not, in 10 years, all of this isn't going to be so heavy. And that we really can use this as an opportunity to become better people. One of the things I really do recommend is limit your time on social media. Limit your time on the news. It is not healthy, you guys, for us to just constantly be taking all this in. Our cortisol levels in our brain, the part of our brain that deals with stress is so overloaded right now, that we really have to be careful of that. Okay, there's so many health concerns that can cause. So what I'm doing now, because I am a news junkie, I am a political junkie, I obsess over this stuff. So I'm putting a timer on. I'm only allowing myself 1 hour of the news a day. I only allow myself a couple hours on social media. A lot of my business is through social media. So I do not recommend giving yourself as much time as I do, but my second business is on social media. So, but really limit your time, you guys, and make sure you're exposing yourself to positive things out there. Find, you know, even if you're Netflix binging, that's better right now than obsessing over social media. Put your phones down and set yourselves a timer when you're on social media or when you're watching the news. Really, you guys, I'll tell you, my husband actually had a stroke in January, and it really hit me hard that my stress levels and just the different chemicals that run through your brain when you're at heightened levels of stress, what can happen is your brain can actually become addicted to that. And it can be very difficult for us to come out of that, right? So I really had, after this happened, I just really had to make that conscious decision that, okay, this can really affect my brain at this point. It can really do some permanent damage. And I had to make that conscious decision that I am going to flood myself with positive. I start every single one of my days right now in a devotional. I am a God girl. And so I just make sure I'm starting very positive every day. And, for you, if you just read some positive affirmation, just tell yourself, just really take control of that to make sure that you're not staying in those really heightened states right now. It's really, really important. And again, My background is in neurological psychology, so I kind of always have to go back to taking care of your brain. So really just limit that and make sure that you're exposing yourself to positive. Seek it out. Listen to positive podcasts. Listen, to watch funny comedies on TV, but try to stay away from the heavy dramas and things like that. Life is heavy enough right now. Make sure you're giving yourself time to just lighten that load right now. It is so important, you guys. Get exercise, really take care of yourself. Okay, so I am going to shift gears now and go into the question. So let's see, what age group would you bring back first is the first question. So again, I want to really stress that you need to make sure that you are doing what's best for you and for your centers. When I come back, I will probably honestly do it all at once we get the all clear. And I think we also need to look at that by region. I'm in a smaller town, in a smaller community. We are outside of Reno, almost an hour outside of Reno. And even the Northern Nevada area, you guys, we are not hit very hard. And I don't know, that might change, right? But as of right now, our governor acted very quickly. This Washoe County, where Reno, Nevada is, they acted very quickly. So they have under 300 cases. My sister is a nurse at the major hospital there, and they're expecting a lot more. So I may change my opinion on that. But as it stands right now, I would probably bring everybody back all at once. But I think, I know in China, though, what they've done is they're bringing children back oldest to youngest. So they literally started in high school, then in middle school, and the preschools are coming back last. So if I were to follow a model, that is probably the model where I would start with like my pre-Kers and work my way down. So I do actually care for foster children and special needs also, which puts us in a unique position since a lot of these children, and I do have essential personnel, so we are not closed. I am not allowing just anybody to come, though. They do have to be essential or in the foster system right now. But so my ages are all open. So my situation may be very different from yours. And so let's see, I'm concerned if we are approved for the PPP loan that staff will not want to come off of unemployment because they're making more now, especially in addition to the weekly. Yes, it is a concern, but here's my thing on that. And every state is different, you guys, and I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an HR expert. I do consult with an HR expert, but I am not one. So don't, I can't officially, but I can just tell you what my opinion is on this. But on that, most states, as long as people are able to work and have a job to work, they no longer qualify for unemployment. So as soon as we report that they have a job again, they will lose that employment for the most part. Okay, so I don't know what your state is, but I know, like for me in Nevada, that's not something I'm too worried about because they won't get the unemployment once I hire them back anyway. So it is something I did have a question on, though, at the time. So that was something that, definitely a legitimate concern. And by the way, you guys, on the PPP loan, I did interview an SBA expert for my podcast yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and I posted it yesterday. So the Childcare Business Coach podcast, he was amazing, answered almost all of the questions I had, and I have, oh gosh, a couple thousand followers. The questions that I've been getting from everybody, he really he had all the answers. It was pretty cool. This loan is so new. There aren't a lot of answers out. There's a lot of unanswered things that even the experts don't know. So just keep that in mind. But if you really want to learn what it is, the nuances of it, listen to that episode. He was a wealth of information. So it's the first time I've actually taken a podcast, recorded and posted same day, because I wanted to make sure I got that information out to my audience very quickly. So that was a very, very useful, amazing information he has for us. So let's see. The next question is, how many spaces are you offering in your center during the pandemic? Ratios for infants, preschool age children. 16 children per room, 5 per, okay, so the way I'm doing it, I have 6 classrooms, and I am down to only about 40 to 45 children a day. So what I'm trying to do is keep under 10 children per room, right? A couple of the other things that we are doing just to make sure that we're keeping the children and my staff safe is we are not combining classrooms. So, you know, traditionally, like at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, everybody's combined in one room and then we close, you know, but we're not doing that right now. It is a little bit tough on payroll, but we got to do what we have to do right now, right? And we are keeping just assigned teachers, we're rotating. So like normally, you know, how we would have a breaker going around and giving we're not doing any of that right now, just because it's just not safe. So the teachers that work with one group of children, they are just with those 10 children, right? And nobody else. That 10 children is only with each other. They don't combine at all right now. We're also limiting how many parents can pick. We're even limiting, like if mom's the one who normally picks up and drops off, she's the only one allowed to drop off and pick up. If dad is, that's fine. We have one who's an aunt, but that's it. One adult, that's it. We're just think in terms of, we really need to limit how many people are coming in and out of our centers right now. I actually just got done interviewing an infectious disease expert who was talking about that, and which that was one of the things he really suggested is, he actually suggests that we don't even let them in our doors. So it's very interesting. Let's see, how many spaces are you offering? Okay, so on the spaces, I don't have a designated amount. I think if I had to cap it, I would cap it at 60 since I have this 6 classrooms and I want to keep it under 10. I haven't had to make that decision yet since I haven't gone above 45 since we went into my infectious disease plan, since I actually started to implement it. So, but I think I would like to keep in mind though, you guys, my center is large. I have very large rooms. So if you don't have very large rooms, I would really, really consider how many children. The interview I just did with the infectious disease expert, he was saying that he would recommend, like for normal size center, just like 4 children per room. So I would look at how many children is your classroom, the individual classroom, licensed for, right? And really figure out if you're going to social distance. Remember what they're saying is that we need to keep cots 6 feet apart. How many children can you really put in the room? Keeping that in mind, right? I know in some of the former centers that I owned, I maybe would have gotten 4 children in a room, keeping those guidelines in mind. So it's really going to be an individual, you guys are really going to have to look at that on an individual level, but just, you know, really determine what's best for you. Let's see, how to open with only 10 people to a room, CDC guidelines. So if I could get some clarification on that. That was from Michael McCubry. If you could clarify that, how to open with only 10, are you saying like 10 total or 10 in per classroom? Some clarification on that would be great. And let's see, we just heard that schools may need to continue distance learning in public school this fall. Yes. If centers can't open in the summer and into the fall, how will we possibly survive? That's where, again, you guys, we've got to look outside. We've got to change our mindset completely. This is where mindset is really going to come in. Where can we find additional income? Right? You've got to really start almost thinking like an entrepreneur. You do. Not almost. We absolutely have to start thinking like entrepreneurs and look around you. Start really researching and find holes. Find those holes and find a way to make income based on the gaps that are out there. You know, just this is where we're going to have to really become creative and find the gaps right now. And we're hoping that, I think there's so many people advocating for ECE right now, which is super, super cool right now. Hopefully we'll get more funding so that we can survive this. And you guys, I really do encourage advocacy right now. Get a hold of your congressman, get a hold of whoever you can right now, and let them know that we're here and that we're listening. That, you know, that we're not going to survive this without their help. Make sure you're doing what you can. Get on the news, do what you can. I have a template I'm more than happy to share with you guys on the email that I sent out to get on the news in my local community. You know, the more of us that really just get out there, the more chance we have to get attention to this, because we really do need attention if our industry as a whole is going to survive. So our center has established a connection between teachers and children since day one of our closure. That's awesome. We have been providing virtual interaction via Zoom meetings every day. Parents have been appreciative and value the materials. Yes, they do. Isn't it great how they do? Let's see, families still don't expect to pay. So okay, and Anna, this is Anna's question. Anna, that really is a mindset, right? So what you're going to want to do is really target their mindset. What's happening is the parents are coming from a place and a mindset that they are paying for a service, right? They're not coming from a place where they're paying for your enrollment. So you really need to message in a way that you're changing their mindset. You want them to understand that they're paying for a spot in your center. They are not paying for attendance. And the way you can do that is by being transparent with them. Send out letters and say, you know, and you've got to really look at your policies. This is a great time to really analyze where the holes in your policies are for the future. This is really, really a good time for you guys to really just analyze that, right? And that is something I'm more than happy to help people with, having plans in place so that this doesn't happen again, you know. But also right now what you can do to be proactive is it's all in the messaging. Help parents to understand that they are paying for their enrollment, not for attendance. And be honest with them. Tell them you don't know if you can survive without it. That being said, you also have to keep in mind the parents that are laid off, the parents that are also being hit by this, who don't have an income. I also do have a form, a hardship letter I created where parents can fill out an application. And that way I am being fair and consistent. If they have hit a hardship, I'm not charging. They do have an application they can fill out and let me know that they really do have a legitimate hardship. But at the same time, the ones that their income hasn't changed, their bills haven't changed, there's no reason they still can't pay their tuition, right? So that's pretty much how I'm dealing with that, just to make sure that I'm not causing a strain on the families that really have, who really do have a hardship right now. So that, let's see, the next one is, Elena's asking is there a recording of the course about, yes, I do have a recording of the course on recession proofing your business. It is on my Facebook page. If you go into my Facebook page, it's actually, I've created units tabs. All of the resources I've created that I've talked about for COVID-19 are under my units tab. The recession proofing, there's 5 videos and there's a workbook that goes with it. And if you just watch the 5 videos, they're just recorded Facebook Live. They're on my Facebook page for anybody to access as long as you're on there. So yes, you can absolutely go through that. That is something I'm just going to leave up, something I've just keeping out there for anybody who needs it. Okay, so how can we repay as SBA loan? Okay, so that's something I really, if wondering how you're going to be able to repay the SBA if we're closed into the fall, and that's Flora's question, Flora. So what I would recommend on that is listen to that podcast episode. Jay Whitney, the expert that I interviewed, he does talk about that, and it looks like this is changing literally from Friday till today. They've already changed some of the criteria on that. And it was at one point, we had 2 months from the date of approval to bring 100% of our staff back. Then they changed it to 2 months from the date of funding to bring our staff back. But there are people advocating because of exactly what you're saying, right? So they're advocating for how long do we really have to bring our staff back. So listen to that episode. It was a huge eye opener for me. In that I thought I would have to bring my staff back immediately. That isn't the case. So definitely, and it is constantly changing. So I am staying up to date with Jay to make sure that we get just the updated information constantly. So let's see. So Anonymous says, we are closed and charging families 50% the tuition to pay staff. What is some wording we can communicate to families around this? And we have applied for the PPP loan. So the wording, I would just really, you guys, just be authentic. That's what I would say, is let it come from your heart and be authentic. I cannot stress to you guys enough right now the importance of authenticity, right? And just let them know, like, you guys, in my letter, I just wrote, I don't like being put in this position. I hate to do this, but if my staff is going to have a job, if I'm going to have a center to come back to, it's what I have to do. So just, and if you guys, again, that letter that I wrote, I did post it in my Facebook group. So if you guys want a copy, feel free. You guys can cut and paste, make it. I just really, really recommend that any of the resources, make it your own. You want to come from a place of authenticity. Just use it as a template and make it your own. Where can we find an action plan to returning to school? I will try and find it. I don't have an action plan for returning yet since I'm still open, but my action plan does include basically like how will I allow children back in as they come. So
Evelyn,
Scott is
you
on.
you are a beast when it comes to the tech. So you're our first guest that like jumped right in and answered questions and number of questions. We will record the remainder of the questions. I will feed those to you. Hopefully we can get those out in our Facebook group. We had a lot of questions as to where to find action plans, content, YouTube videos. We'll share our YouTube channel in the KT Connect Facebook group. We'll share as many of these resources as quickly as we can. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. We will have, we don't have any more webinars planned this week. Next week, I think we have 2. We might get an impromptu webinar set up this week. So stay tuned, pay attention to the emails. Evelyn, again, thank you so much. This was awesome. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome to have you. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. We will all talk soon. Take care.
Bye.